I was with one company. I suffered a TIA, mini stroke, in Louisville at a receiver. This is from Mr. Gary. I was admitted to the hospital and I was there for a week. The company fired me for this and they black dotted my DAC saying that I abandoned the load and the vehicle in an unauthorized location. The company that maintains the DAC reports is called HireRight. Trucking companies pay HireRight to use them for DAC reports. I contacted HireRight for a rebuttal, but they took the company's side in the dispute. My rebuttal is, how could I move the truck if I am in the hospital? The company said that I did the abandonment deliberately, then docked my final pay for locksmith and truck retrieval. And I was saying, and is saying I still owe them $4,500. The company I am now with overlooked and had me bring in the hospital ambulance to report and hired me. I'm sorry. The question is, can companies and HireRight do that to keep drivers from employment in that kind of situation?
I can handle this one. The answer to that is no. You have a right as a driver to refuse to operate a commercial vehicle if you are too ill or fatigued that to operate the vehicle would be unsafe. And so I think in this case, having a stroke falls pretty clearly in being too ill to drive a truck. Now, unfortunately, we see this pretty frequently that if a driver has a medical emergency, has to leave the truck, the company will mark that as an abandonment, which is basically a death sentence for a trucking career. If you have it on your DAC report that you've abandoned a truck, no one's going to hire you. Now, the remedy in this case would be, it sounds like this driver has already tried to resolve it with HireRight. Under there are consumer protection laws that govern this type of a report. The Fair Credit Reporting Act applies to employment reports of the type that HireRight publishes. And so you have the right to dispute it, but unfortunately, too often the company HireRight will simply call up the trucking company. Trucking company says, nope, they abandoned the truck, and then HireRight will close the book on it.
But you have a right of action, a right to sue to ensure. I mean, the Fair Credit Reporting Act requires that the person making the report, in this case would be a report to HireRight, and HireRight have a duty to ensure maximum accuracy. Now, the courts have held HireRight to a really low standard. OIDA, God bless them, took a great class action, or took class action, I can't remember who it was against, but it dealt with what's against HireRight, or USIS before HireRight bought them. And it said that their coding system was inaccurate, how they categorize things, and it was a class action. OIDA did not win the case. So this case, as Pete says, the driver's got two possible claims: violation of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, or the STA's whistleblower provision, which prohibits retaliation for refusing to run. Sounds like it'd be a good case if it's timely.
Yeah, on the one hand, there's the wrongful firing against the company for terminating a driver who can't legally operate because of the stroke or whatever illness. And this applies in situations, and the stroke is obviously an extreme example, but if you have the flu, and if you have bronchitis or any ailment that makes you
bad night's sleep.
Yeah, bad night's sleep that makes you medically unfit to drive. You just don't feel safe driving because of your medical condition. You have the right to refuse. And if the company retaliates against you, then you have a cause of action under the Surface Transportation Assistance Act.
I think the ruling actually reads if you're ill, fatigued, or likely to be ill or
So likely. It's so likely to make it.
Do you guys have a follow-up?
It's not a follow-up to that, it's a totally different subject, so if you want to continue with that, that's fine. But it's a totally different question.
Well, okay, do you have a comment on that at all?
No, I agree.
Okay.
My only thought is, it sounds to me, first of all, totally illogical to require a sick employee to continue to drive. It's against all common sense and safety, and also that just the Family Medical Leave Act apply to trucking companies.
Yes.
So if someone
It's a serious health condition.
right, if they have a serious condition.
Well, the problem is, FMLA is, and I'm glad you segued into that. FMLA provides, Family Medical Leave Act provides a rolling 12 weeks of off-duty or time off for a serious health condition for you or family. I mean, to care for a sick mother and things like that. But you gotta be there, you have to have work a certain number of weeks, and I can't remember exactly, or full-time employee for 12 months. You have to work a certain number of hours. The problem is there's this turnover in trucking. I don't know that everybody ends up qualifying it because the turnover is so great. I mean, what's a turnover in this country? People last at a job in trucking about 8 months typically. That's a good point, thank you.